Let's tank Sisters of the Moon in the Tomb of Sargeras on normal and heroic difficulty. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is the platform of where the bosses are going to be pulled onto, or where they're standing, is a big circle. And as you progress the fight, an eclipse comes across the circle, and then it goes back and forth. And what happens is, the longer you stand on one colour, you're going to get a stacking debuff. That'll increase the damage you take by that colour by 3% each stack. So one side will be arcane and the other side is going to be shadow. Obviously the arcane is like a whitish colour and the shadow's kind of dark. So what you want to be doing is flipping these debuffs depending on what abilities will be coming out. Now for the most part, this isn't too detrimental if you go too high, but you don't really want to be going any more than 8 stacks, I'd say, for heroic and normal. Any higher, then you're really going to start suffering and going to want to start thinking about using your DRs. But for the most part, there's not really too much tank damage in this, and it's a really simple fight. Now, this mechanic could be really exciting if the abilities actually hit kind of hard and the debuffs probably did a bit more than 3% each stack. But because it's only 3%, it's very lenient on the amount of damage you're going to take, so don't worry too much. As long as you're swapping fairly often, then you should be good. So now let's look at the bosses. When you engage the fight, the Huntress is going to be active, and the other 2 bosses will be in ghost forms, shooting certain abilities. Now, as tanks, you want to be stacked for this phase for the Moonglaive ability, where the boss will throw a glaive at a primary target, and then it bounces up to 3 targets, inflicting 6.2 million physical damage total. The first target hit gets Discorporate applied to them, decreasing all healing and absorption taken by 75% for 30 seconds. Triggering Astral Purge will remove Discorporate. So all you want to do for this is do a taunt swap, so the tank with Discorporate has the boss taunted off them, they run out, swap the debuff, clear the debuff away, and then go back in. And that's all you really need to do for this mechanic. There's not really too much to go into about it. And then her other ability is called Twilight Glaive, where she's going to throw glaive at a target, inflicting 1.3 million shadow damage to anyone it hits before returning to the caster. So all you want to be doing for this ability is looking for a big red arrow coming from the boss and just not be in the pathway of the big red arrow. Now later on through the fight, when the arrow or the glaive hits the wall, once it's been projectiled out of the boss, it'll then split and ricochet back throughout the room, and you just want to be dodging these ricochets. The next boss, the captain, does 3 abilities. She does Incorporeal Shot, which just needs to be soaked by players. A big pink line comes and you just need to stand in it to soak it, otherwise the player's going to die. She does Twilight Volley, which does big blue circles on the ground, just don't stand in them. And then she also does random shadow shots to different players in the raid, inflicting 1 million shadow damage. And then the Priestess has 3 abilities. She does Embrace of the Eclipse, which will shield all raiders, and this just needs to be healed up. And then she puts a shield on herself, or the current boss that is out, and it just needs to be DPS down. If any of these shields go off, they explode, hitting everyone in the raid. So if multiple ones of these go off, it's going to be a raid wipe. The next ability she does is Moonbeam, which burns enemies with lunar damage, inflicting 700k arcane damage every 2 seconds for 30 seconds. And then to get rid of this debuff, you just need to trigger Astral Purge. So you really don't want to be having too many stacks of the arcane buff while this ability is on you. Then she also does Lunar Strike, which summons lunar energy, inflicting 1 million arcane damage. So that's pretty much all the basic abilities for this fight. Now at 70%, phase 2 happens, so the Huntress goes away and the Captain comes out. Now the Captain's phase 2 ability is to summon a Moon Talon ad, and this ad just needs to be tanked on top of the boss. And what this ad will do is an ability called Deathly Screech, and at around 50% health, the ad will start doing a 1 million shadow damage to all nearby enemies. This damage increases by 25% every time it is cast, so once it hits that health pool, you just need to hard swap to it and get it down before it wipes the raid. And the other new ability she gets in phase 2 is called Rapid Shot, and what she's going to do is focus fire on a target, inflicting 500,000 shadow damage every half a second for 5 seconds. This just needs to be focused healed. Now, like I said earlier, the only other ability you need to worry about is the Huntress's glaive ability. Now ricochets backwards on itself, so just be aware of that when you see the big red arrow. Watch for the glaives coming back on themselves. Now phase 3 begins at 40% health, and the Captain's going to go away, and the Priestess will be the main target of this fight. Now, the only real thing you need to worry about is the Lunar Fire, and it's pretty much a tank mechanic, and it's going to put a stacking debuff on whatever tank's currently tanking the boss. And all you need to do is tank swap the debuff. And the only other real new ability she kind of gets is called Lunar Beacon. And what this is going to do is it's going to mark an enemy with lunar energy, inflicting 1.1 million damage every 1 second for 6 seconds. When Lunar Beacon expires, the target's location will become bombarded by Lunar Barrage every 1 second for 3 seconds. Each Lunar Barrage inflicts 700k arcane damage every 1.5 seconds and silences while in the barrage area. Now this can become a little problematic if they're being badly placed. I'll try to get a bit of footage where we had one of these situations and you've got to move the boss around quite a lot, and it can also make it a bit hard to swap your debuff stacks, especially if they cover the whole centre of the room, so just be wary of where you're dropping these as a raid. Now apart from that, everything else pretty much remains the same. All the abilities are out at this point, so just make sure you're handling everything correctly. You're soaking the arrow shot and you're dodging the red arrow and the ricochets of the glaives. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the Sisters of the Moon fight. Please like, comment and subscribe for more videos.